Good day everyone, how are you today? I hope you're doing great. So in this video, we'll be discussing about motivation in library management and information center. So we have here the content overview, the human element of the organization, structuring the human element in an organization, motivation, the content models, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Herzberg's two-factor theory of motivation, McClelland's need theory, and the process models. Please do watch until the end of this video because we will be having a recap of the topics. The human element of the organization. This chapter discusses the managerial functions that are grouped under the classification of leading, also sometimes called directing or commanding. Among the most important of these functions are motivations, communication, and leadership. Sometimes this aspect of management is downplayed or ignored, but this is always a mistake. Employees' attitudes, personality, attributes, and perceptions affect the way they work. So this is Abraham Zalesny. He was a leading scholar and teacher in the field of organizational psychodynamics and the psychodynamics of leadership. When we say psychodynamics, also known as psychodynamic psychology in its broadest sense, it is an approach to psychology that emphasizes systematic study of the psychological forces that underlie human behavior, feelings, and emotions, how they might relate to the early experience. Selznick urges managers to maintain a balance between what are often two competing organizational functions. Functions he terms the interpersonal and the real works, such as marketing and production. The managerial function of leading draws heavily upon the field of study known as organizational behavior. As the name implies, organizational behavior is the study of how people, both individually and within groups, behave in organizational setting. Just like other managerial functions, leading is done by managers at different levels of the organization. As was discussed in Chapter 1, in most typical organizations, including libraries, management can be divided into three levels. So the first is the top management, which in libraries usually means the director and the assistant and associate directors is responsible for the overall functioning of the entire organization. Next is the middle management, is in charge of specific subunits or functions of the organizations. In libraries and information centers, department heads are middle managers. Their management functions are concentrated on the successful functioning of individual areas of the library. Middle managers in any addition to leading their specific subunits or functions also serve as liaison between top management and supervisors. These supervisors, sometimes also called first line managers, are the managers in the lowest position of the management hierarchy. Managers at all levels should be familiar with the techniques of good leading so that they can create a climate in which people can work together to fulfill the organization's goals. Leading is a difficult undertaking because its focus is on human behavior. This behavior is always unpredictable because it arises from people's deep-seated needs and value systems. As Keith Davis and John Newstrom state, there are no simple formulas for working with people. There is no perfect solution to organizational problems. All that can be done is to increase our understanding and skills so that human relations at work can be upgraded. According according to Davis and Newstrom, there are four basic assumptions about people that every manager should keep in mind. First, we have individual differences. Though people have much in common, but each person is born unique, and, and subsequent individual experiences make one even more different. Because of these individual differences, no single standard across the board way of dealing with employees should be adopted. The second one is a whole person. Although some organizations wish they could employ only a person's skill or brain, they must employ the whole person. Various human traits may be separately studied, but in the final analysis, they are only parts of the system that make up an entire person. People function as total beings. The third one is motivated behavior. In the former case, people are motivated not by what we think they ought to have, but by what they want themselves. To an outside observer, an individual's need may be illusory or unrealistic, but they still control that person. The last one is value of the person. This is more of an ethical philosophy than a scientific conclusion. A person working any job, regardless of how simple it may be, is entitled to proper respect and to recognition of his or her unique aspirations and abilities. This concept of human dignity rejects the old idea of using employees only as economic tools. Motivation. What is motivation? Motivation is the willingness to expend energy to achieve a goal or a reward. These rewards includes monetary and non-monetary. Monetary rewards are financial rewards provided to employees for meeting their goals. This may include cash awards, bonuses, commission, gift cards, and more. Non-monetary incentives are non-cash perks or benefits provided by an employer to an employee. Examples of non-monetary incentives include extra time off, work flexibility, and experiential rewards. Thus, motivation is a process governing choices made by individuals between alternative voluntary activities. Motivation at work has been defined as the sum of the processes that influence the arousal, direction, and maintenance of behaviors relevant to work settings. The motivation process can be seen as a sequence, with the efforts of an employee resulting in the achievement of the goals of the organization, which then leads to the employee's needs being satisfied. Motivation is influenced by a number of internal and external forces. Because each human being has a complex psychological makeup, motivation is a complicated, multi-faced quality that is related to various drives, needs, and wishes. Many theories and models have been developed to explain human motivation. These theories and models fall into two major groups: the content models and process theories. Because workers are so individualistic in what appears to motivate them, a number of motivational theories and models attempt to specify the exact needs and desires that motivate each person. These models are Mark Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Herzberg's two-factor theory of motivation, comparison of Maslow's and Herbert's motivation theory, and McClelland's need theory. Psychologist Abraham Maslow proposed one of the earliest and the best known of these theories of motivation in the 1940s. All individuals have needs, and that these needs can be ranked on one predetermined hierarchy. Psychologist Abraham Maslow proposed one of the earliest and best known of these theories of motivation in the 1940s. Here are Maslow's identified five levels of needs: the physiological needs, safety and security needs, social or affiliation needs, esteem needs, self-actualization. The physiological needs are the needs of a human or a basic need of human are food, water, shelter, sleep, and other bodily needs. All are essential to human survival, and other until they are satisfied to the degree necessary to sustain life, the other needs will provide little motivation. Safety and security needs are the needs to be free of the fear of physical danger and of the fear of the deprivation of basic physiological needs. The social or affiliation needs. After the first two needs are met, an individual develops a need to belong, to love and to be loved, and to participate in activities that create a feeling or togetherness. The esteem needs. After the social needs are met, people need to be more than just a member of a group. Individuals want to be held in esteem both by themselves and by others. The satisfaction of these needs produces feelings of power, self-confidence, and prestige. The self-actualization. At the highest level, the individual achieves self-actualization, which means maximizing one's potential to become everything that one is capable of becoming. Herbert's two-factor theory of motivation. In the late 1950s, Friedrich Herbert and his research associates built upon the modified Maslow's ideas. Herbert formulated a theory of motivation that focused specifically upon the motivation of employees in a work environment. To gather information about what leads to high morale in employees, Herbert and his associates looked at the factors that made employees feel happy and satisfied and at what kinds of things made employees feel dissatisfied. After the data were analyzed, the researchers discovered that one group of factors contributed to employees feeling good about their jobs. Herbert called these factors motivators. These motivators, which are closely related to the actual content of the job itself, include such things as achievement, recognition by supervisor, source, peers, customers, or subordinates of the work accomplished, the work itself, the aspects of the job that give the worker personal satisfaction, responsibility, being able to work without supervision, and being responsible for one's own efforts and advancement. These factors lead to job satisfaction and are effective in motivating individuals to superior performance. Another group of factors which Herbert labeled hygiene or maintenance factors pertains not to the content of the job itself but primarily to the conditions under which a job is performed. These hygiene or maintenance factors include salary, job security, status, working conditions, quality of supervision, company policy and administration, and interpersonal relationships. So here is the comparison of Maslow's and Herbert's motivation theory. Maslow hierarchy of needs versus Herbert's two-factor theory of motivation. McClelland's need theory. David McClelland's work offers us a different perspective on what motivates workers. McClelland proposed that there are three major categories of needs among workers: the need for achievement, the need for power, and the need for affiliation. The need for achievement, which is the drive to excel in relation to a set of standards. It is the drive to succeed. Workers with a high need for achievement wish to succeed and advance. They seek situations in which they can assume responsibility. Accomplishment is important for its own sake. The need for power is the desire to have impact on an organization and to be influential. Those workers with a high need for power want to influence people and make an impact on their organization. They want to be in charge. The need for affiliation is the desire for close interpersonal relationship. If the workers have high need of affiliation, they have a drive to relate to people on a social basis and to have close interpersonal relationships. They prefer cooperative rather than competitive situations. Macmillan's theory differed from earlier ones in that he thought that the three needs were learned. Motivation is inculcated in children through the stories and the role models presented to them as things admired in their society. As adults, they seek to emulate the heroes and values of their childhood lessons. But Macmillan also believed that adults are changeable, and some of his later work deals with the idea of developing greater need for achievement, especially in workers of other societies. The process models in contrast to the content models of motivation, which try to identify the specific needs or values that contribute to motivation. The process models of motivation focuses on the psychological and behavioral processes involved in motivation. The individual is an active factor, selecting behaviors based on his or her needs and based on expectations about what kind of behavior will lead to a desired reward. Four best known process models are Adam's equity theory, Brom's expectancy theory, behavior modification, and goal setting theory. People behind the process models are John Stacey Adams, a behavioral psychologist, developed the equity theory of job motivation. Victor Vroom developed the Vroom's expectancy theory. B. F. Skinner developed the behavior modification. And Edwin Locke developed the goal setting theory. Adams' equity theory emphasizes the importance of a reward system that is perceived as fair by employees. This theory relates to the balance that exists between inputs and the outputs of a particular employee's job in comparison to the inputs and outputs of other employees' positions. The equity model states that an employee compares the perceived inputs and outputs and then tries to achieve equity between the positions. The inputs are things such as hours worked, how much effort is expended on the job, the requirements of the job, and the ability or educational level required for the job. The outputs are things such as amount of pay, vacation time, job security, recognition, and praise. In Adams' equity theory, a good manager will try to maintain an equitable reward system and be sure that employees understand how highly visible rewards such as pay or promotions. Vroom's expectancy theory. A number of individuals have developed expectancy theories of motivation. Vroom's expectancy theory are based upon the belief that individuals act in such a way as to maximize desirable results and minimize undesirable ones. Emphasizes how motivation takes place given an individual's needs and objectives. People will motivated to perform to reach a goal if they believe in the worth of the goal and if they perceive that what they do will contribute to the achievement of that goal. Four elements of expectancy model: force, valence, expectancy, and instrumentality. To illustrate this theory, consider a worker who wants to be promoted. This individual thinks that the best way to achieve the promotion would be to increase job performance. The motivation or force to improve job performance would be a product of the intensity of the desire for promotion, which is the valence, multiplied by the worker's perception of how likely it is that working harder can improve job performance, which is expectancy, multiplied by the worker's perception of how likely it is that improved job performance will lead to a promotion, which is the instrumentality. In this example, improved job performance is the first level outcome, and promotion is the second level outcome. Force is a motivational drive to achieve a goal. Valence is the extent to which an individual desires a certain outcome or goal. Expectancy are the perceived probability that a particular outcome will lead to a desired result. The result is called the first level outcome. Instrumentality are the degree to which an individual believes that first level outcome is related to a second level outcome, which defined as some human needs. Force is the motivation, valence is the rewards, expectancy are the efforts, and instrumentality are the performance. Vroom's expectancy theory is important because it highlights how people goals influence their efforts. The behavior of an individual is a function of number one, his or her belief in the efficacy of that behavior in achieving goal, and number two, his or her desire to achieve a goal. Points out some situations that should be avoided in organizations. Behavior modifications provides managers with yet another process model of motivation. Behavior modification, unlike the other motivational theories discussed, is based on observed behavior, not on individuals' attitudes, desires, and emotions. Skinner's emphasis is on operant behavior, behavior that has been shaped and modified, that is controlled by its consequences. Individuals act as they do because of reinforcements received in the past for similar behavior. Reinforcement is defined as a consequence that follows a response and that makes a similar response more likely in the future. Four methods for modifying behavior: positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, no reinforcement, and punishment. According to Skinner, positive reinforcement is the most effective long-range strategy for motivating individuals. Positive reinforcement is a reward given after a behavior that the motivator wishes to see continued. Positive reinforcement tends to strengthen this behavior and to make it more likely to occur again. Manager can offer a wide range of positive reinforcements, including pay increases, promotions, and praise. When a behavior or act is followed by the termination or withdrawal or something unpleasant, it is called negative reinforcement. For instance, if a supervisor criticizes a worker for coming to work late, the worker's desire to eliminate this criticism may cause the worker to come to work on time. No reinforcement leads to the extension of a behavior because the behavior is not reinforced in one way or another. It decreases in frequency and then stops. If the manager neither praises nor criticizes the worker who talks loudly to attract the manager's attention, the unwanted behavior is not being reinforced and it should stop eventually. However, punishment is an unpleasant event that follows unwanted behavior. Punishment is intended to decrease the frequency of that behavior. Punishments that manager can inflict include demotion and firing. Goal-setting theory. Goal-setting theory is the last process theories. Goals increase performance and that difficult goals when accepted by employees lead to higher performance than do easier goals. Goal setting points employees toward what is important in the organization. This theory has a number of propositions. The more difficult the goal, the higher the performance achievement. The more specific the goal, the more explicitly performance is regulated. The best way to get high performance is to make goals both specific and difficult. Goal setting is most effective when there is feedback. In order to maximize performance, one must have both goals and feedback. To get people committed to a goal, they must be convinced that the goal is important and that it is reachable or partially reachable. The higher an individual's self-confidence, the higher the goals the person will be willing to set. The more committed the person will be to difficult goals, the more resilient and persistent the person will be in the face of failure. The better task strategies the individual likely will be to develop, and the better the person will perform. Participation is more valuable as an information exchange device for developing task strategies than as a method of gaining commitment to goals. The more successful the performance in relation to the goals, the greater the degree of satisfaction experienced. Elements of effective goal setting. Acceptance of goals. Specificity of goals. You have to narrow down your goals and be specific with what you have to achieve. Challenging yet reachable goals. Be realistic with your goals. Then the last one is feedback. How should managers motivate? Don't forget to say thank you when staff put in extra effort on the job, and be sure to carry this practice over into staff meetings by adding to the agenda time to issue thanks and compliments. Create an employee motivation program with departmental awards for exceptional work, perhaps with an emphasis on customer service. Make a thanks for your help box and ask staff to drop in the names of the fellow employees who go beyond the call of duty, then hold a monthly drawing for a small gift. Celebrate the completion of major projects with a special coffee break with treats. Be sure to acknowledge the anniversary date for each employee either with a paper or electronic card. To motivate an individual, there are many ways such as monetary ways and non-monetary ways. So let's recap our topic. The first one is the human element of the organization, which involved Abraham Zalznick and his organizational functions, which are interpersonal and the real work. It also has organizational behavior that implies the study of how people, both individually and within groups, behave in organizational settings. It also has the three levels of management: the top management, middle management, and supervisors. Number two is structuring the human element in an organization, which has the four basic assumptions by Kate Davis and John Newstrom. Third is the motivation. It is a willingness to expend energy to achieve a goal or a reward. It has a process and a sequence that involve employee exerts effort, organization achieve goals, and employees' needs are satisfied. The content models contains Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Herbert's two-factor theory of motivation, and McClelland's need theory. Maslow's hierarchy of needs gives the manager a guide to the range of needs, from basic life requirements to social, ego, and creative needs. Herbert's studies provide information about the need for recognition, achievement, advancement, and responsibility. McClelland's work shows that different individuals have different learned needs that affect the way they approach a work situation. The process models contains equity theory, Bloom's expectancy theory, behavior modification, and goal setting theory. Bloom's research demonstrates the importance of considering each individual's aspirations and of coupling performance to reward. Skinner's work makes evident the importance of positive reinforcement in ensuring continued desirable behavior. Luck's goal-setting theory shows the significance of goals as a means of helping employees to achieve a higher level of performance. The policies of the organization should be structured so that the capacity to do good work is encouraged. Good productivity reflects the quality of employee motivation. Ideally, an organization's goals and objectives motivate an employee who wants to be part of and contribute to their achievement. Certainly, this is so in the library profession. A high degree of success in achieving the goals and objectives creates a positive image of the organization. The worker is proud to be part of the organization and is motivated to promote its success through efficient work. Before we will end this topic, we want to share this quote by Abraham Zalznick, which says, "Leaders are active instead of reactive, shaping ideas instead of responding to them. Leaders adopt a personal and active attitude towards goals. The influence a leader exerts in altering moods, evoking images and expectations, and in establishing specific desires and objectives determines the direction an organization takes. The net result of this influence is to change the way people think about what is desirable, possible, and necessary. In other words, leaders are visionaries and managers operate within those established visions. Thank you much and God bless.